Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Veterans in Politics 2016 interviews. Our next interview will be with Edmund Uehling, who is a candidate at this time for State Assembly in District 16. Mr. Uehling, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yes, first of all, I'd like to thank the Veterans of Politics and Steve for creating this opportunity. This is the one valid forum, I think, that exists in Southern Nevada for ferreting out people's views and so on. And I'm especially impressed by the level of genius or involvement with the community of the panel. My name is Ed Uehling. I'm running for State Assembly District number 16. I've been a resident of Clark County for 72 years now, and I graduated from high school before the Clark County School District was even formed. And I've lived in different places in the world. I've worked for the Organization of American States for several years, which is like the UN for South America. I got fired because I wrote a paper. I was in an area of government efficiency or government effectiveness, government goals, government performance, and I wrote a negative paper about Panama, and I got fired because of that. But I'm amazed to see Nevada has even greater problems than some of these southern South American countries had back in the 60s and 70s when I worked for that organization, for the Alliance, did a paper for the Alliance for Progress. My opponent is a Democrat. This is a very Democrat district. I ran for Senate that includes this district, Senate District 10. Assembly District 16 is half this Senate District 10. And I was surprised at the results that I got as many votes as I did, since the incumbent at that time was a very well-known person. Anyway, I want to hear your questions.
Thank you very much. We're going to begin with Ms. Lee.
Thank you. Mr. Uehling, would you support or oppose a bill which would make it unlawful to use a public restroom if you're going through gender identity reassignment, if you are transitioning from a man into a woman? Would you support or oppose a bill that would make it unlawful for that individual to use the women's restroom?
No, I wouldn't. But I think this...
You wouldn't support it, or you would?
No, I would not support. I wouldn't support it. I would have to learn more about it. I know there are serious issues regarding this, and it really needs more study and more information rather than just reacting on emotional basis or on prejudice.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Scott Fada. My question revolves around if you're elected and take your seat in Carson City, what would be the #1 issue that you would address?
Well, I am sort of torn well, I think the main issue is to reverse the budgeting process that the state has. What the state does is first they lay out all their dreams, and then next they force us to come up with the money to realize those dreams. That isn't the way you do budgeting. First you figure out what money you have, and then you make your dreams or your programs fit the money. And but we don't do that at all. No one is in favor of that idea. Carol Velardo, who's the head of the taxation, doesn't believe that it's possible, basically doesn't believe it's possible to measure performance, and can only help build the budget bigger. And that's a huge problem that we're faced by.
Thank you.
I'm oriented to be opposed to the federal government setting all the rules for the country. I think even in Clark County we have difficulty understanding that our main industry here is tourism, and that we should be educating our students to benefit from tourism. Tourism is the largest industry in the world. It is the richest industry. It is the fastest growing industry. And if it's going to grow internationally, and we're not emphasizing teaching languages to kids, for example, or having them study abroad so they learn other cultures. So, and learn how to do business with all these people that are going to be coming from all over the world to Las Vegas. So what does that mean? That means that, and that's only one example, that means that we're going to have to import workers in order to deal with these people. We're going to have to import people who speak Mandarin when our own students could be learning that. But there's no emphasis at all on that. The school district doesn't acknowledge that as our basic industry, our basic education orientation, certainly. Thank you.
Thank you. Judge Luke?
Yeah. We have a serious problem here with mental health. Excuse, I'll start over. We have a serious problem with the shortage of mental health resources for Clark County residents. What would you do to increase and improve the delivery of mental health services to the public?
Yeah, I agree. That's a huge problem, and something has to be done. But I would work. I'm mainly oriented toward economic development and creation of jobs. I think if all these people had something to do, if they were realizing their dreams, if they were working toward their dreams, we would not have as many mental health problems as we do. If we had a society that gave people opportunities, real opportunities, instead of having them just sit at home or be on street corners, and so we have to have economic development first. But certainly we need more community cooperation or some other program to deal with mental health. I'm impressed by the notion of co-housing. The little I know about it, I really don't know a lot about it, where communities are being formed where these people can be taken care of within a living community. I see that as a possibility for dealing with this. In addition to what's normally expected, more mental health facilities.
Thank you. Mr. Pitara?
So, my question is actually, because you're a libertarian, I think it'd be a very interesting question to ask you. This is basically on your interpretation of the role of government over the will of the people. So in 2002, Nevada approved a ban on gay marriage to its constitution. However, it was later overturned by a district court. I want to know your opinion on the role of the federal government or a larger entity overturning the will of the people in a state.
Okay. I don't think it was overturned by a district court. I think it was overturned by the Supreme Court.
Well, it's because the domestic was the court and then the marriage was the federal court. The same question applies. Any outside of the state of Nevada overturning the will of the people. Let's rephrase it.
Yeah.
I guess.
Okay. I don't think that within the Constitution and certainly within the Declaration of Independence, people have a right to decide what rights other people have. All of us have rights, and people should not be denied rights. The more we expand that, the more that people can produce, the more that the country can grow, and the more calm of an environment, of a social environment we have. Gay marriage, as you may know, I don't know, I'm gay, but I would never want to get married to my partner of 35 years, or 33 years, excuse me, and because I don't believe that that's a personal choice. I wouldn't deny that to other people. I certainly am glad, and I think it's worked out well, letting other people form more stable environments and raise kids and everything else. I think it's turning out very well.
Thank you.
Good morning, sir. My name is Robert Faust. I'd like to ask you your position on concealed weapons on campus.
I agree with what someone said previously, that the Second Amendment is very clear about these things and should not, the rights of people should not be infringed. And if you look at it, the reason these countries all over the world have so many, one of the reasons these countries all over the world have so many problems is because they're not able to have guns. And so the government or the government forces or the rebel forces come in and you know, mistreat the family. The fact that this country has the ability to have guns makes us free.
So this issue came up, I'd like you to address, it's been a big issue across the nation. The issue of, it came up with a baker, of course, and I think it was Oregon or Washington State, and so it applies here as well. And in fact, we just obviously just had a new change of the law with gays being allowed to be married here. In fact, there was a wedding chapel here that was a for-profit, not non-profit. And the woman there said that she would refuse to marry gays. There's businesses who don't feel comfortable in providing services to gay weddings. What's your feeling about the law regarding that? And should private business owners have the right to serve who they want and not serve who they want?
Yes, very interesting. I believe that this is not a wedding chapel. Is not a bus. It's not a bus. What do you call it? Company or operation where the operator should not have any right to refuse to allow someone who's gay or who's black, refuse to allow them to get on the bus. If you have a private business that's of your own, I don't see any problem at all with you being able to make the decision who you're going to serve. And if you're dumb enough to reject a whole segment of society, that's your issue. If you want to do that, that's up to you. I find it sort of humorous that pizza parlor owners were somehow rejected or sued because they didn't serve pizza. I can't imagine any gay people having a wedding where they serve pizza. I mean, that just completely baffles me.
Hi, thank you for being here. How would you describe yourself philosophically?
Well, I think libertarians serve that I believe in freedom, both financial freedom and personal freedom. And I think the Declaration of Independence states that very well. Life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. We're all entitled to that. And the government does not have a right to interfere in that. Certainly not create things like, for example, our infamous drug war, where we spend $50 billion a year and cause 60,000 people to be killed in Mexico in 1 year, or conduct this war all over the world that has no...
Any discussion, there was no input whatsoever, and majority Republican legislature did that to us, and and a Republican governor as well, which I guess completely destroys the thought behind partisanship, doesn't it? So could you tell us what you would do if you're elected to represent us and to combat those kinds of things happening without the input from the people?
Well, for one thing, I would do what I say, and I certainly disagree with those taxes. In fact, I'm collecting signatures on the one tax initiative that survived to do away with the commerce tax, the so-called commerce tax, which is really a tax on gross income, what we formerly called a margin tax. What happened in the last legislature is just so such an outrage that it defies it defies speaking. How can these people live with themselves for what they did? I don't know. I just don't understand.
Thank you.
Did I answer the question?
Yeah.
All right, we've come around full circle, and we'll come back. I think we'll have enough time to go one more pass through the panel. Ms. Levy?
Mr. Uehling, you ran for Senate a few years ago. What are you going to do different this time to ensure that you win as opposed to what happened in the last election?
Well, in this election, my opponent is less known than the previous candidate, and also I'm to a large degree I'm going to run to the left of her. Okay, and so like in criminal reform, prison reform, in immigration issues, in things that I can't think of the specific things right now, but in a lot of issues. I speak Spanish. I'm very fluent in Spanish. And so I will be talking, and it's easy for me to establish relationship with Hispanics. I hope to be able to get them to do something other than come to the ballot box, as I saw in the previous election, and with a thing, D, 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 D. And we succeeded in getting the, and I worked on this, to get the term LIB removed from the ballot, and it's now LPN, the Libertarian Party of Nevada, because no Republican is going to look. It was my experience in working at the polls. No Republican is going to vote LIB. And so I think that was a real problem, and I hope it's correct. It helps have it corrected there.
Well, thank you. I appreciate you coming out to be interviewed. Unfortunately, your opponent didn't think that our endorsement was important enough to show up for, so I appreciate you being here.
Thank you.
Thank you. Before we go any further, just a reminder, Mr. Uehling, if you can keep your answers down to 60 seconds, please. Mr. LaFata.
I just have a quick question regarding your thoughts on the Second Amendment rights of all Americans.
Yeah, I thought I explained that I totally agree with the previous person, someone previous who spoke here, that our rights shall not be infringed, period.
Okay, and we talked quite a bit when I was running for governor about the corruption in the parties and what he's saying about the, here's a list, D, right? Well, mine was no Fred all the way down. But how would you deal with the kind of corruption that we see in the RNC with Sandoval just going against the people and all of the Democrats essentially being handpicked by Harry Reid? How would you solve some of these election fraud problems?
Well, I don't think I alone am going to solve it by any means, but I think the people of Nevada will hopefully have a clear choice and an honest choice this time, not a dishonest choice like last time in November as to who to vote for. And if the taxation thing, for example, gets on the ballot, I think there's no question that that will just get slaughtered again. It was killed 80% to 20% in 2014. Am I going over my minute?
No, it's fine. We'll take comments from the audience as soon as we let the panel members have one more run. Judge Liu?
Yeah. I admire your courage in admitting that you're a gay person, which is fine. Do you agree or disagree with the United States Supreme Court decision that legalized gay marriage?
I thought I made it clear that I agree with it, because I don't think that I should determine someone else's rights. Those are constitutional issues, and properly solved by the court.
Thank you.
Ms. Pitara.
So, I'll just ask this question, see if you understand it. So, from your interpretation, marriage is a right, and being in that is God-given, correct? Basically, yes or no is my answer, my question.
No, it's government given. The laws that impact on marriage, or that marriage impacts on the laws, there are thousands of laws that benefit married people over unmarried people. And so it's an act of government. Maybe the government should get out of it and not have any preference for married versus non-married, and just let people set the arrangement that they want.
Thank you.
What's your position on state welfare dollars going to pay illegal immigrants and also driver's license for illegal immigrants here in Nevada?
Well, I'm against all welfare programs, especially including corporate welfare, where all of a sudden we now have a situation where the governor's office determines what businesses can move to Nevada, and how do they encourage them to move? They say they move here because of the education system, but in fact, they move here because of the tax situation. They give all of those companies tax benefits. They allow them to avoid all the taxes that they created. And so now, all the businesses have to go through the economic director. I didn't answer your question.
No, you did, but the other part of the question was driver's licenses for illegals.
Oh, I think we should be looking at our population as it is and doing everything we can do to enhance the ability of everyone to reach their goals, to
That's a
do
yes or
the
no
best
question,
in-
sir. Do you support yes or no?
Yeah,
driver's
absolutely
license for
yes.
illegals?
Absolutely yes.
Okay, I just want to get clear.
To allow them to get around and to do work, to produce things for the society, absolutely.
What would your first action be once elected?
My first action, I went to the opening of the legislature last year, and I've forgotten what they do first. It's a lot of hoopla and ceremony. But as a legislator, I won't have a lot of power except to talk to people. So I won't. I don't think new legislators even have the ability to create laws or to propose laws. And I'd have to think about that. What would be the best law that we could create? Maybe do away with this crony capitalism system that the governor has set up.
Mr. Uehling.
Knowing that the space program is very prevalent in Nevada, as well as solar power and those type of things with Tesla and Faraday, Bigelow Aerospace, aside from training our children and other people to be educated in the hospitality industry, which is what you stated before, what type of initiatives and training people in technological fields would you back?
Well, I think it's fine if a company comes here and operates on the basis of every other company, and that we educate. I mean, we're certainly trying to do that. I think it's failing. Compared to other countries, I travel a lot to China, and we don't even come close to what China does, for example. But I think that our education system emphasizes math and science, and so I think they're failing. But I would certainly encourage them to continue that for the students that are interested in that.
Thank you very much. We're running short on time. I'm going to take one question from the audience. Sir, you were up.
Oh yeah, I'm Jim Carson, Old Talk Radio. I wonder what your feelings are on some of the laws being passed against the homeless not being able to be fed here in the city, and being that some of them are veterans.
Yeah, I really don't understand the government's approach to homelessness. They create homelessness, first of all, with all these restrictive laws, like the number of people that can live in a house, the repairs, how you have to make the repairs to the house. You have to go through the building department, which has incredible barriers to fixing up houses. That's why as I say, I travel to China a lot. I'm sorry, but Las Vegas looks like a slum area. And you go, especially the center part of the city, you go and the part of the city that's made it possible, provided the infrastructure for thousands of subdivisions in the suburbs, is totally deteriorated because of these laws that favor developers over existing communities. You had a specific thing though.
Yeah, I just want to kind of cover what your feelings were on that those laws being passed.
Yeah, the government creates homelessness, then the bureaucrats go to Washington to try to get a grant to deal with homelessness, and their ideas are spend $300 a square foot to build housing, which will only provide enough housing for a small fraction of the number of homeless people. In the meantime, the homeless live under the streets, in the tunnels, and out in the desert. The property next to mine has probably a dozen or 10 or 20 people living on the. And the other day, someone was killed. Why not Why not go halfway instead of having to have luxury housing? Or let people live in tunnels, why not go halfway and set up a tent city on the government land, where at least people can get a shower, they can get around, they can have a place to secure to keep their things. As I said, the government has created this problem.
Well, Mr. Uehling, I want to thank you very much for taking the time to visit us today. Panel, thank you very much, and let's give a round of applause.